There exists a threshold you cross each night, though you know it not. In that sacred pause between the day's final breath and sleep's first whisper, you stand at the edge of all worlds, the guardian of your own consciousness, loosening its vigilant grip, the ego's fortress walls beginning their nightly dissolution. Here, in this liminal cathedral of approaching dreams, the ancient mystics discovered what Edgar Cayce would later reveal through his extraordinary gift. The soul does not sleep when the body surrenders to rest. Instead, it awakens to its truest nature, like a nocturnal flower blooming in dimensions invisible to daylight consciousness. You have felt this threshold countless times, that moment when the familiar world grows thin, when thoughts become fluid, and the boundaries of self begin to blur. This is not mere biology, this daily dying into sleep. This is your soul's homecoming, a return to the luminous unity from which you emerged at birth. Time itself bends here, like light passing through the prism of eternity. Past and future converge in the eternal now of sleep's embrace. The careful divisions your waking mind maintains between self and other, between possible and impossible, between the sacred and mundane. These dissolve like salt in the ocean of universal consciousness. What the ancients knew, what Cayce channeled in his trance-like revelations, is that sleep is humanity's most natural, mystical state. Each night, without ceremony or fanfare, you cross the veil between worlds. You become both pilgrim and destination, both seeker and the sought, as your soul remembers what your daylight mind has forgotten. That you are infinite consciousness dreaming yourself human, not a human occasionally dreaming of infinity. In the small town of Hopkinsville, a soul was born with eyes that could see beyond the membrane of ordinary perception. Edgar Cayce arrived carrying gifts that would make him humanity's bridge between the conscious and the eternal. Not through his own choosing, but through a divine appointment written in the very fabric of his being. From childhood, he walked between worlds with the naturalness of one born to serve as oracle. His gift was not mere clairvoyance, though the world would name it so. It was something far more profound, a complete surrender to what Jung called the collective unconscious, that vast primordial ocean where individual souls merge with the universal self, where personal identity dissolves into archetypal wisdom. When Edgar entered his trance-like states, he became the embodiment of the wounded healer archetype. His waking mind, humble and unlearned in medical arts, would step aside like a servant making way for the master. In that sacred emptiness, something greater moved through him. The voice of the universal physician, speaking truths his conscious mind could never comprehend. This was his burden and his blessing, to become hollow so that healing could flow through him. Like the ancient shamans who journeyed to the underworld to retrieve lost souls, Cayce descended into unconscious depths to bring back medicine for humanity's afflictions. He channeled the wisdom of ages, accessing knowledge that belonged not to Edgar the man, but to the collective healing intelligence of all existence. His gift revealed a fundamental truth about human consciousness, that within each of us lies a direct connection to infinite wisdom, waiting for the ego's proud defenses to dissolve so that divine knowledge can emerge. When twilight steals across your consciousness and the day's vigilant sentinel begins to fade, you embark upon humanity's most ancient pilgrimage. This is no ordinary journey, no simple transition from waking to sleep. This is the soul's nightly odyssey into realms that exist beyond the boundaries of flesh and time. Like Odysseus setting sail into unknown waters, or Persephone descending into the underworld's depths, your consciousness ventures forth into territories invisible to your daylight vision. The ego, that careful curator of identity, releases its grip with each deepening breath. The persona, that mask you wear for the world, slips away like clothing shed before entering sacred waters. Edgar Cayce understood this nocturnal pilgrimage as no mere metaphor, but as literal truth. Each night, the soul sheds its earthly constraints and travels through dimensions of existence where consciousness itself becomes the landscape. Here, in these invisible realms, the hero's journey unfolds not in external adventure, but in the depths of Psyche itself. You have felt this departure, though you may not name it so. That moment when thoughts grow strange and fluid, when the familiar room seems to expand into infinite space, when your very sense of self begins to loosen and flow. This is the soul preparing for its journey home. Home to the collective unconscious, where all souls recognize their common origin. In these realms, the wounded seek their healers, the lost find their guides, the searchers discover what they never knew they sought. Time becomes circular rather than linear. Past lives whisper their lessons, future possibilities shimmer like mirages, and the eternal now reveals itself as the only moment that has ever truly existed. This is sleep's deeper truth. Not escape from reality, but entry into a reality more fundamental than the waking world's careful constructions. In the vast amphitheater of sleep, where consciousness becomes both audience and performer, dreams unfold as the soul's native language. Here, in this sacred theater of night, the psyche speaks not in the linear logic of waking thought, but in the ancient tongue of symbol and myth, metaphor and archetype. You enter this theater nightly, though you may not recognize it as such. The curtain rises on stages that shift and flow like liquid light, where the impossible becomes inevitable, where dead grandmothers offer counsel over tea that tastes like childhood, where you fly through landscapes that exist nowhere on earth, yet feel more familiar than your own neighborhood. This is not the random firing of neurons, as the materialists would have you believe. This is purposeful communication from the depths of your being. The self speaking to the ego in the only language that can bridge the chasm between conscious and unconscious realms. Dreams are letters from your soul, written in the hieroglyphics of the heart. Edgar Cayce recognized dreams as divine consultations, nightly appointments with wisdom that transcends personal knowledge. In the theater of dreams, the psyche performs its most essential alchemy, transmuting the base metal of daily experience into the gold of understanding. Every conflict becomes a teaching, every fear a doorway, every joy a remembering of your truest nature. The symbols that dance across your sleeping consciousness are not arbitrary. They are the soul's attempt to heal the splits within you, between masculine and feminine, between light and shadow, between the mortal self you think you are and the immortal self you truly are. Dreams weave these opposites together in stories that bypass the ego's resistance, planting seeds of integration that bloom in waking consciousness as sudden insights, creative inspirations, and inexplicable knowings. This is the theater where your deepest healing occurs, where the soul rewrites the stories that no longer serve your becoming. In sleep's darkest hours, when consciousness descends to its most hidden depths, you encounter what Jung named the shadow, that disowned aspect of yourself, dwelling in the basement of awareness. Here, in the midnight confession of dreams, everything you have rejected, denied, or refused to acknowledge emerges from exile to claim its rightful place in the wholeness of your being. This meeting is no accident, no cruel trick of an indifferent universe. The shadow appears precisely when your defenses are lowest, when the ego's careful gatekeeping dissolves into sleep's surrender. In dreams, you face the angry parts of yourself you've banished, the wild desires you've tamed, the primitive instincts you've civilized beyond recognition. These are not demons to be slain, but exiled aspects of your soul returning home. Edgar Cayce understood this nocturnal reckoning as sacred curriculum. The shadow carries not only your rejected darkness, but also your disowned power. The fierce strength you were taught to suppress. The raw creativity you learned to contain. The authentic truth you were conditioned to silence. In dreams, these aspects of self speak with the voice of the unwanted guest who brings the most necessary gifts. The soul sees beyond the ego's careful categories of good and evil, acceptable and shameful, civilized and primitive. In the democracy of dreams, all parts of yourself receive equal hearing. The prudish maiden discovers her inner prostitute, the gentle father confronts his inner tyrant, the people-pleaser meets her ruthless truth-teller. These encounters disturb not to torment, but to integrate, not to shame, but to reclaim the lost pieces of your authentic nature. This is the shadow's midnight confession, that you are not the sanitized version of yourself you present to the world, but a complex tapestry of light and dark, sacred and profane, civilized and wild, and that your wholeness depends upon embracing every thread in this magnificent, terrifying weave of being. Beyond the borders of personal dreams lies a vast ocean, where individual consciousness merges with the dreaming of humanity itself. Here, in the collective unconscious that Jung mapped like an explorer charting unknown continents, your soul participates in the great dreaming that connects all human beings across time and space. You have tasted this collective dreaming, though you may not have recognized it. Those dreams that feel too large for your personal history, too archetypal for your individual experience. Dreams of flying that echo humanity's eternal longing for transcendence. Dream of flying that echo humanity's eternal longing for transcendence. Dreams of being chased that mirror our species' primal fears. Dreams of the wise old man or woman who appears bearing gifts of guidance from realms beyond ordinary knowledge. Edgar Cayce spoke of humanity's shared nocturnal landscape, where souls meet in communion beyond the barriers of physical separation. In this realm, the mother dreams of her distant child's danger the same night the child faces crisis. The lover awakens with inexplicable knowledge of their beloved's sorrow. Prophets receive visions of collective futures that ripple through the dreaming minds of their contemporaries. This is not mere coincidence or fantasy, but evidence of consciousness itself as a unified field in which all souls participate. The symbols that emerge in collective dreaming, the serpent of transformation, the divine child of new possibility, the great mother of infinite compassion, these are not personal inventions, but archetypal truths emerging from the depths of shared human experience. In sleep, you become both contributor to and recipient of this vast pool of collective wisdom. Your dreams add their unique thread to the tapestry of human understanding, while you simultaneously draw from the accumulated insights of all who have ever dreamed. You are never truly alone in your nocturnal journeys, but always part of the greater communion of souls, exploring the infinite landscapes of consciousness together. Through the extraordinary perceptions of Edgar Cayce, we glimpse the soul's nocturnal wanderings through what he called the astral planes, dimensions of existence where consciousness itself becomes geography, where thought transforms into landscape, where the soul travels unbound by the laws that govern physical form. These are not fantasies born from wishful thinking, but actual territories of being that consciousness explores when freed from flesh's constraints. You have been an astral traveler, though you may not remember your journeys. Those dreams where you visit places that exist nowhere on earth yet feel achingly familiar. Where you commune with loved ones who have passed beyond the veil. Where you soar through skies that shimmer with colors unnamed by earthly language. These are memories of your soul's nocturnal adventures through realms invisible to waking perception. In these astral dimensions, the soul operates by different laws than those governing physical reality. Distance becomes meaningless. You can be in multiple places simultaneously. Time reveals its malleable nature, You can visit past incarnations as easily as glimpsing potential futures. Form follows consciousness, rather than the reverse. You appear, as your thoughts and emotions dictate, shape-shifting through various expressions of your essential being. Here, in these luminous realms, the soul performs its most profound work of connection and communion. You visit the bedsides of ailing friends, offering healing presence that their unconscious minds receive even when their waking selves remain unaware. You commune with teachers and guides who exist in dimensions beyond physical manifestation, receiving instruction that filters into waking consciousness as sudden insights and inexplicable knowings. This is the soul's true homeland. These realms, where love travels instantly across any distance, where wisdom flows like rivers of light, where the artificial separations that divide us in physical reality reveal themselves as illusions that dissolve in the greater unity of consciousness, exploring itself through countless expressions. In the deepest chambers of sleep, where consciousness descends to its most primordial depths, Edgar Cayce accessed what he termed the Akashic Records, the cosmic library containing every thought, word, deed, and intention that has ever rippled through the fabric of existence. This is not a library of books, but of living memory, where the very ether holds the imprint of all experience, all learning, all becoming. You have touched this infinite database, though you may not recognize your encounters with it. Those moments in dreams when you possess knowledge you never learned, speak languages you never studied, understand truths that transcend your personal experience. These are glimpses of your soul's natural access to the accumulated wisdom of all existence. The Akashic realm operates beyond the linear constraints of earthly learning. Here, information does not transfer through words or images, but through direct knowing. Consciousness, absorbing understanding the way parched earth receives rain. In these depths, your soul downloads not mere facts, but living wisdom that serves your evolutionary purpose. Guidance that emerges in waking life as intuitive insights, creative inspirations, and sudden clarity about life's perplexing questions. This cosmic library holds no judgments, only records. Every mistake becomes a teaching, every triumph a celebration, every struggle a sacred curriculum in the university of existence. Your soul accesses precisely what it needs for its current stage of development, drawing from the infinite reservoir of human experience to inform its earthly journey. When you awaken from sleep, you carry within your being the subtle transformations that occur through these nocturnal communions with universal knowledge. You may not remember the specifics of your soul's research in the Akashic depths, but you emerge changed, wiser, more compassionate, more aligned with your authentic purpose. This is sleep's hidden gift, the quiet alchemy of wisdom received in silence. In the sanctuary of sleep, where the soul withdraws from the world's demands into its most intimate communion with the divine, healing unfolds on levels that transcend physical medicine. Here, in the sacred chamber of nocturnal rest, Edgar Cayce revealed that the soul connects with healing energies that operate beyond the reach of earthly physicians, beyond the limitations of material intervention. You have experienced this healing, communion, though you may not have recognized it as such. Those nights when you fall asleep, burdened by emotional wounds, only to wake with inexplicable lightness in your heart. Those times when physical ailments that troubled your days seem mysteriously lessened after deep rest. This is not mere biological restoration, but your soul's participation in the healing mysteries that operate in dimensions beyond physical awareness. During these nocturnal journeys, the soul communes with what Cayce called healing guides, beings of light who exist to facilitate the restoration of harmony in consciousness and body. These guides work not through dramatic interventions, but through subtle attunements, adjusting the soul's vibrational frequency to align with its perfect template of health and wholeness. In sleep's embrace, the soul activates the body's most profound regenerative powers, not just the cellular repair that science acknowledges, but the restoration of energetic patterns, the healing of karmic wounds, the release of emotional toxins that have crystallized into physical symptoms. The night becomes a temple where spirit and flesh commune in the ancient dance of healing. Miracles unfold quietly in these sacred hours, not the dramatic healings that command attention, but the gentle miracles of hearts mending, spirits lifting, bodies remembering their innate capacity for wellness. Each night, the soul tends the garden of your being, pulling weeds of dis-ease, planting seeds of renewed vitality, watering the soil of your existence with love's infinite medicine. At the threshold between sleeping and waking, in that liminal space where consciousness hovers between worlds, the soul touches the eternal now, where all time converges, past, present, and future revealing themselves as facets of a single luminous jewel of existence. Here, in this prophetic threshold that Edgar Cayce knew so intimately, the soul's timeless perspective awakens to possibilities that linear thought cannot grasp. You have stood at this threshold more often than you know. Those dreams that feel charged with significance beyond their apparent content. Those nocturnal visions that carry the weight of prophecy. Those moments of awakening when you glimpse fragments of futures yet unborn. These are not supernatural anomalies, but natural expressions of the soul's liberation from time's artificial constraints. In the depths of sleep, consciousness accesses what Cayce called probability streams, the flowing rivers of potential that emanate from every present moment choice. The soul perceives these streams not as fixed destinations, but as living possibilities that shift and change with each decision, each prayer, each act of love or fear that ripples through the fabric of becoming. Prophetic dreams emerge from this timeless perspective, offering not predetermined fates, but glimpses of potential futures that serve as guidance for present choices. The soul receives these visions as a loving parent receives glimpses of a child's possible paths, not to control, but to understand, not to dictate, but to guide toward the highest possibilities for growth and service. These nocturnal prophecies carry warnings wrapped in love, encouragements clothed in symbol, invitations to step more fully into your soul's intended purpose. When you dream of floods, your soul may be preparing you for emotional overwhelm. When you dream of golden light, your spirit celebrates possibilities for enlightenment. Each prophetic glimpse serves your awakening to the magnificent destiny that calls you toward your truest becoming. As dawn approaches, painting the horizon with whispers of light, the soul begins its delicate return journey from the infinite depths of sleep to the familiar shores of waking consciousness. This transition is perhaps the most sacred moment in the cycle of existence, a gradual re-entry where the eternal wisdom gathered in night's embrace must be translated into the language of the ego mind. You know this threshold intimately, though you may not recognize its profound significance. That drowsy space between sleeping and waking, when dream images still shimmer at the edges of awareness, when profound insights hover just beyond the grasp of ordinary thought. This is the soul's customs house, where treasures from the nocturnal realm are processed for conscious understanding. Edgar Cayce understood this transition as requiring the utmost reverence. The moments between sleep and waking are pregnant with possibility, alive with the potential for transformation that can reshape your entire understanding of yourself and your purpose. Here, the soul attempts to download its nocturnal revelations into the receptive vessel of morning consciousness. But this translation is delicate work. The ego mind, accustomed to linear logic and familiar categories, often struggles to accommodate the fluid, symbolic communications of the soul. Like trying to pour an ocean through a teacup, much of the night's wisdom may seem to slip away as ordinary consciousness reasserts its practical dominance, yet something always remains. Even when the specific details of dreams fade like morning mist, the essential insights integrate into your being at levels deeper than memory. You awaken carrying new understanding in your bones, fresh compassion in your heart, expanded awareness in your spirit. The soul's return journey leaves you subtly but permanently transformed, bearing within your ordinary consciousness the extraordinary gifts received in sleep's embrace. The ultimate revelation flowing through Edgar Cayce's extraordinary gift transcends all concepts of sleeping and waking, revealing a truth that dissolves the very boundaries between these seemingly opposite states of consciousness. Awakening, he discovered, is not the opposite of sleep, but its deepest fulfillment. The moment when the soul's nocturnal wisdom fully integrates with conscious awareness, creating a unified field of knowing that bridges all worlds. When you truly understand what your soul perceives during its nightly journeys, you become what the mystics have always called the awakened sleeper, a being who maintains conscious connection to the soul's infinite wisdom even while navigating the practical demands of earthly existence. You learn to live as a bridge between dimensions, carrying the night's revelations into daylight service, embodying the profound truth that you are an eternal soul, temporarily wearing the garment of human form. This awakened state does not require you to abandon the world, but to engage with it from a deeper place of understanding. You move through your daily activities carrying the memory of your soul's travels, informed by its communion with healing guides, enriched by its access to universal wisdom, guided by its prophetic glimpses of possibility. Work becomes worship, relationships become sacred encounters, challenges become opportunities for the soul's continued evolution. In this state of integrated awareness, the artificial separation between spiritual and mundane dissolves. Washing dishes becomes a meditation on the cleansing of consciousness. Conversations with friends become exchanges between souls, recognizing their eternal connection. Even sleep itself transforms from unconscious retreat into conscious participation in the grand symphony of existence. This is Cayce's greatest gift to humanity, the recognition that awakening is not a destination to reach, but a way of being to embody, not an escape from human experience, but its deepest embrace, infused with the wisdom of eternity.